Okay, hi. This video will help you with the document coding assignment. I'm right here on the document coding assignment. And remember, this assignment requires you to review the text messages as well as the emails and determine whether those texts and emails are relevant and privileged. So, to do that, we will first have to understand what it means to be relevant and what it means to be privileged. So, for something to be relevant, it has to have to do with the case at hand. And remember, our case is dealing with whether or not there was sexual harassment on the part of Mr. Smart's boss. So, if a text or an email has to do with whether or not answering that question of whether there was sexual harassment, then it will be relevant. If it doesn't have to do with that, then it's not going to be relevant. We'll also have to understand whether or not the document is privileged. Documents, emails, text messages, those are only going to be privileged if they are communications that exist between attorney and client. Remember, we talked about several types of privilege in class, but only documents that are between an attorney and a client will be privileged. And we actually saw that there are some communications that exist between our client and his attorney. So we'll review the text messages and emails, and then we will enter in the information into the document that is provided, this document coding document, and then we will submit it through LearnBrian. So this will not be submitted through Google Drive. It will be submitted right here through LearnBrian. Okay. So now we are going to take a look at the document, which is right here. So this is the document that we will have to fill out. We'll fill out information for each of the emails and each of the texts. Looking at the first email, let's pull up that first email. So here is our first email. It's from Jane. And remember, Jane is the person who is accused of sexually harassing Mr. Smart. And she's harassing him, allegedly, on the basis of sex. So it says, Bradley, if only you were a woman, you could handle this job better. This would have already have been taken care of. But since you're not, I'll have to work with what I've got. Please resend the invoices from the electrical company so we can get them paid. Jane. So here she's directly saying, you're not a woman, you're a man. And so that's on the basis of sex. So this email is probably going to be relevant. So we'll fill in the information from this email in our coding document. So the email was to Bradley Smart. It was from his boss, Jane Robinson. CC means carbon copied, and so if an email has been copied or given to someone else, if there's anyone else in the to from CC, then you would put someone in the CC. If you look at our email, we don't have anyone CC'd. You can contrast that with the second email, which you will notice bradley.smart@bryanuniversity.edu was CC'd. So in this email number 1, there is no one who is CC'd. So no one was CC'd. So you can put an X there. The subject. The subject of that email was invoices. It said right there in the subject line, invoices. The date of the email was January 20th, 2014. We determined that yes, the email was probably relevant because it had something directly to do with Bradley Smart's sex. So you can put yes, it was relevant. Was it privileged? No, it probably wasn't privileged. It was an email in between that had taken place between Bradley and his boss. It wasn't between attorney and client, and therefore it was not privileged. So you'll go through and do that with all of the emails and all of the text messages. You might have a question on the text messages in that there's no subject for the text. So you won't have to fill in all of that information because it just says the date and who it's to and who it's from. So there's not going to be a subject in the text messages for you to fill out in that tab, in that column for that privileged and relevant document.